So first, I'm assuming everyone here is already in the Google Classroom. If you're not, this is the link. But just make sure you're in the Google Classroom, because if you miss a meeting or if like you want to get updated, you have to leave early or something, all of the information will be there and you'll be able to find everything from there. And I think we'll just get started right now. If people are late, they'll just, tune in a bit later. But so today's meeting, it won't be super long. It'll probably be around like half an hour max-ish. We're gonna be, wait. Okay, sorry. So we're gonna be looking at like Python. Hopefully, maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't, that's totally fine. Basically, Python is a type of programming language, and it's one of the more simpler ones, which is why we're going to be starting with it. And almost everyone in the computer science field has learned a tiny bit of Python here and there. So we're just going to introduce the very basics today. But first, we do have, so this is our website. And basically, here are some instructions on how to install Python and VS Code. It's not required. If you're unable to follow these and download VS Code and install Python, that's totally fine. If you have trouble with this, that's also fine. We can help you out, whatever. But basically what VS Code is a type of code editor. So you know how like these days we use Google Docs to like do over homework assignments most of the time, right? VS Code is similar to Google Docs, but you can think about it as like Google Docs, but for Python or for code. So there's that. And then Python is just Python. Hopefully you can install that. If you can't, that's also fine. So I'll send this in the chat, but it's not, but don't do it now. We'll send it out in Google Classroom later and just try to install it on your own time and follow these instructions. And if you need help, you can ask us for help on there and we'll help you out. But that's just something for later. And something for now is if you want to follow along with today's Python, like the stuff we're going to be doing, you can navigate to this website. So it's repo it basically. And this is like a Python compiler interpreter. It's basically, think about it as this is your Python document and you can write in Python here and you can run it and stuff will happen. So even if you don't have Python downloaded and VS Code downloaded, you can still follow along here if you want. And I think Lucas, he's another high schooler. He'll start today and he'll be going over how to do the Python stuff.
All right. So I'll be talking about some Python today. So we're just gonna start really basic. We're just gonna talk about comments, print, and input, and I'll talk about variables a little bit as well. So first of all, you see that this text here is highlighted green, but if I type anything here, it won't be highlighted green. And that's because I put this hashtag here. So that whenever you have a hashtag in Python, that basically means that it's a comment and it won't run in the code. So for example, if I put a hashtag, then there's no more errors because it won't run that whatever I have in hashtag. So comments are really helpful to label your code because sometimes you'll use like certain algorithms or things like that, and maybe people won't understand your code. And if you want to share with other people, it's helpful to have comments to just show them what your code actually does. So let's talk about print statements a little bit. So in Python, it's really easy. You're just gonna type print, And then you are going to type what you want to print in quotes. So whatever I type in quotes, it's going to print once I run the code. So I will just say hello world, and if I run that, it will just print hello world. If you could see that at the bottom of the screen, that's what the output is. All right, so for example, if I wanted to say my name is Lucas and I am 15 years old, I would just type that and then it will print that. Make sure whatever you have it is in quotes, otherwise it won't print. All right, so we're gonna use this statement as a template for the next part of the lesson. So what if say your name is not Lucas and you're not 15 years old? How would you run the program and let it print something that says your name and your age? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take an input this time from the user. So that would be, we take input, and then I think, so there's two parts to this. There's gonna be your name and then your age. So those two are gonna be different variables. So I'm gonna talk about variables a little bit first, because when you we're gonna have something like this, right? So this will be basically our print statement. Like my name is, and then your name. It's gonna say an error because I don't have the variable name yet. And then I am grade or age years old. So it's gonna be, it should look something like this. So age, that would be an integer. So basically a number, and there's different types of numbers. We'll talk about those later. And then your name will be a string. So how you want to set up variables in Python is just write the name of the variables that you want to take the input of. So I'll say name, and then I would just say string of input. All right, and then for my age, I will just put the integer. So the int and str, that just converts the input to integer and string, because otherwise there'll be an error in your code. All right, I'll give you 1 second to type this into your online compiler as well, because I do want you to follow along with this. All right, so I'll start over for this print statement. Just so everything's clear. So in Python, when you want to combine, when you want to print multiple things, there's two ways to do it. You can either use plus, like I did before, or you can use commas. So the difference between those is that commas will give you a space, and space plus sign will not. So my name is, and then comma, name, name is the variable that we're going to take. And I am, and then we're going to do comma, so it has a space. Age, years old. All right. So hopefully you also type this in your online compiler, so you can just run this and test it. Okay, so I would just say, let's say if I type Bob and then 14, it would say my name is Bob and I'm 14 years old. All right, so that's pretty much the basics of putting comments, printing, and taking the input. So I'll give it to Eric to go more in depth in like variables and things like that.
Okay, yeah. So let me share my screen. Basically, if that was confusing, it's okay. It's normally a tiny bit more difficult, like the very first time you try stuff. But the important thing is to just kind of understand how like the whole thing is functioning itself. Lucas, can you message me the code you had? So so this is what Lucas was doing, right? So just to quickly go over again, this is Python. What you're seeing right here is Python. It has a .py at the end, which stands for Python. And the .py tells your computer that, hey, this is a Python file, so your computer can read this Python, right? Because otherwise, your computer, if this was like a .text file, your computer doesn't know what to do with it. It doesn't know what you want it to do with it. But because of the .py file, our computer knows that, hey, we can't actually run this, right? And you can run it up here. And if you're doing it on the online compiler, it should still work as well. Okay, so
how do you set up the variable on the online compiler?
Yeah, let me show you that right now. So you guys can see my online compiler, right? Basically, I'm assuming this is what everyone else is looking at, correct? So we have hashtag comments print input name equals, and then so this is just a comment, right? So this doesn't do anything. It's just like kind of like a label. When the computer sees a hashtag, right, or the pound sign, it doesn't read it. So basically the computer doesn't do anything with that. However, the next line we have name is equal to str parentheses input parentheses parentheses and parentheses, right? So what this is name is your very first variable. And so you're setting the variable into the input, which takes in something from your compiler here. So if I were to run this and I were to type my name, right, it would take my name. And then, so currently it stores Eric into name. And the reason why it goes str here is because it converts it to a string. We'll talk about strings and integers and all of that stuff a bit later. So you don't have to really worry about that for now, but just know that what has happened is the computer has stored what I just typed, Eric, as the variable name. So now if I were to print name, if I were to print the variable name right here, it should print whatever I typed, right? So print out Eric, right? And then next is asking for your age, which is also an input. And our age is always a number. So we'll put in our age. So if I'm 16, I'll put in 16. And then it stores the 16 as age. Then it prints out this whole statement here, which says my name is, comma, name, comma, and I am, comma, age, comma, years old. The commas don't get read. Instead, what happens is the commas differentiate from actual quotations and from our variables. So we have a comma in front of the variable name and a comma after the variable, and we have a comma before age and a comma after age. What that does is it tells the computer, right, to first print my name is, then it takes in a variable then it takes an I am, then it takes in another variable, then it takes in years old. Because otherwise, the computer wouldn't be able to know the difference between the name right here and the name here, right? Which one is the literal like NAME and which one is my actual name, right? So that's why we need to put the commas here. So hopefully that makes more sense. If anyone has questions, now's the time. We're going to do a bit more practice and we're going to look over this idea a bit more right now. So let's say we wanted to ask what your favorite food was, right? So let's delete everything we have here. We can put comments in front of it. So this is called commenting out. So if I were to put comments in front of it and I were to run it now, nothing happens. Like I type my name and nothing happens, right? Because I have it all commented out. So let's comment it out. And this time let's ask for our favorite food. So if I were to print a question first, so I'm gonna print a question. What is your favorite food? Question mark. Then if I run it, it'll print what is your favorite food, right? Simple. Hopefully that makes sense. Now we want to answer. So let's say your favorite food is pizza, for example. Now, if I were to type in pizza, nothing happens, right? There's an error because the computer isn't looking for pizza. So we need the computer to listen for it. So what we can do is we can do input. And input allows the computer, right, to listen for what we're about to type. But we need to store this because if I were just to run it and I were to type in pizza, nothing happens, right? There's no error this time, but it doesn't happen. All right, there's a question. So how do I code like that? I just download it and it doesn't look like that. Okay, so I'll help you out later with what it looks like after you download. I'm assuming you're talking about VS Code. But for now, you can just follow on by going to the link. And once you go to the link, it should look something like this, and you can just type in here. We'll be going over VS Code the next time we see after Thanksgiving break. So as I was saying, right, we can put input right here, but nothing happens because it's not storing this input. No, don't sign up. You don't need to sign up for the full experience or anything. You can if you want, but all you have to do is just click on the link and it should take you here. And you should be able to start typing, right? So you can delete this. We can do it right here, right? So let's print what is your favorite food? And then we ask for an input. The input doesn't take anything though, or it doesn't store anything. So what we need to do is we need to create a variable. So food equals signs. Well, so what that does is we create a new variable, we call it food, and we set it equal to, right? It's kind of like math. If I set something equal to something, right? Like a variable in math. So we set food equal to this input, and we have to put str on both, str parentheses, parentheses. And we'll talk about what the str does. But for now, just remember to always do that. So food is equal to str, open parentheses, input, close parentheses. And we can talk more like in depth about why there's parentheses here, what all this does, like why there's so many parentheses, blah, blah, blah. But that's like a conversation for another day. So now that we have stored food, we can print out food. And notice when I put print food, I don't have any quotations, right? So if I run this and I put pizza, it'll print out pizza. Now let's say I were to put quotations around food. And I run this and I type in pizza, it will print out food, right? It doesn't print out pizza. Why? Because I put quotations around it. And now the computer is not reading that as a variable. Instead, it reads that as just food. So I need to remove the quotations so it knows I'm talking about this variable here, which is storing whatever I type here. So if I type ice cream, it will store and print ice cream. And unfortunately, right now, it's not telling me anything important, right? It's not telling me anything new. So let's make it say my favorite food is blank. So what we can do is we can do print my favorite food is, and then if you wanted to put food here, right, it wouldn't work because the computer doesn't know what's going on. It doesn't know what food is. It assumes it's still text, right? So if I were to print this, it'll say my favorite food is food. So to differentiate from that, we can put a comma after this and then put food here. And now it'll read this as a variable. So if I were to run and put pizza, I would say my favorite food is pizza. So does anyone have any questions now? Like, does everybody understand how this works, what the difference between the comma and the food being put inside the quotations are, and how input works and how the print statement works? This might not seem like too crazy, or it might seem extremely crazy, but it's pretty like introductory stuff, which is sometimes very difficult. Okay, so if everyone understands that, which it seems like we all do, what I want us to try is let's try printing our favorite food as well as our favorite drink. So your task is to start from scratch and ask, okay, wait, I'll keep this up here. So try and start from scratch and create some code. So you can like comment out your stuff, or you can comment it out and you can start from scratch, right? And try to ask for your favorite food and your favorite drink in 2 separate statements. So currently we already have the what is your favorite food part, right? So try asking for your favorite drink as well. So what I mean is we already have all of this. Now below all of this code, ask for your favorite drink and have it print out your favorite drink. So put code in ... here. And then if you get an answer, message it, private message me in the Zoom chat. And if you have any questions, you can also private message me in the Zoom chat. And I'll give like some hints on how to do it in a couple minutes. But for now, just try it yourself. So ideally, what you want on the output at the end after you run it is just say, what is your favorite food? You type in your pizza and it tells you my favorite food is pizza. Then it asks, what is your favorite drink? You type in, let's say water. Then it says my favorite drink is water. So try to get the second part to work. The Google Classroom code is IT2H. I put in the chat. Oh shoot, sorry. That's the Google Classroom code. Make sure you sign up with your, or you log in with your school email. Okay, very good. We have a couple people who have managed to figure it out. Some more. Take your time. There's no rush. Make sure if you have any questions, now is the time. And so far, everybody who has private messaged me, your code looks excellent. It looks like it works. Okay, so I'm going to kind of go over how to do this. So I know it is a bit confusing. It's totally fine. You'll get the hang of it soon. So after you print what is your favorite drink, right? So right now what we're at is we have pizza and it prints out my favorite food is pizza and it prints out um what is your favorite drink. So now what we need to do is we need to store the input or store whatever we want to type, right? If I want to type my favorite drink is boba, right? We need to be able to store that. So we can do drink is equal to string input. And this part, you don't need to understand what this does. We'll explain it later, or hopefully one day. But just remember that this gives us the input. So this stores the input for us. And then we can print out drink. And it will show pizza, boba, and it'll print out boba. And now that we know for sure that it prints this out properly, we can manipulate this and put my favorite drink is quotations, comma, drink. And then I'll say my favorite drink is boba. So that's pretty much it for today. What we are going to do is there's going to be an assignment on Google Classroom any second now, or it'll post in a couple minutes. And basically what we want you to do, or it's just like a fun assignment. It's not homework. So like if you don't finish it or if you don't know how to do it, don't worry about it. There's no grade or anything. You're not going to get like marked down. Don't worry about that. But what it is so what we want you to do is submit via Google Docs. So basically you can code on repo and just copy and paste whatever you have and put it into Google Docs, right? So we can see it and just submit via Google Documents or Google Docs a Python program telling us about yourself. So what we mean is like currently right now with our program, what we know is what my favorite food is and what my favorite drink is, right? So create a program that's similar to this fashion that can tell us what your name is, how old you are, like what your favorite subject is, what your favorite sport is, blah, blah, blah. It could be whatever you want. You can have as in-depth, as vague as you want, and just kind of tell us a bit about yourself using Python. So you can use the same format as we have here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If anyone has any questions, you can stay behind and ask now. Otherwise, we'll be done for today. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks after Thanksgiving break on Thursday, on Thursday, December 2nd at the same time, 4 p.m., same place on Zoom. We'll be going a bit more in depth about Python. Yeah, so very good. Whoever messaged me, yeah, you could tell us your hobby, right? Hobby equals string input, and you can tell us what your hobby is. And otherwise, see you guys next time.